And we're live. Hello, everyone. Hello, Javier. How are you doing today?
Hello.
Yeah.
Fine, fine.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you for
today,
having me.
uh, the pleasure is mine. The honor is mine. Yeah. So today is another episode of Afterworks, and we have the honor to have Javier Ortiz with us from Conto. I'm gonna give him the stage to present himself, but just as a bit of a story of what happened behind the scenes is I've watched the presentation of Javier of ClickHouse and the implementation of that solution, and then we started chatting, and there are a lot of discussions that went behind the scenes, and we want to bring you those discussions and share them with you. So Javier, before talking about this, a couple of words about you, if you don't mind.
Yes, so I will introduce myself a bit. I'm in Quanto since 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And 2 years ago, or a bit more, I became the lead of the observability team. The observability team, we ramped it up from zero. And so we took some interesting decisions. We defined the vision, the mission, and all. And now we decided to merge teams, and I'm working as a staff. So my role changes in the last time.
Mhm.
Um, so that's me. That's why I was talking about the ClickHouse, because I think that it was one of the biggest bets that we did as the observability team,
Mhm.
and it's something that is helping us as an SRE team, and that's why we also I share the pleasure of chatting with you and exchanging some technical decisions or a bit of the vision that we had with that.
Yeah, perfect. So before joining Conto, was there like I think you worked as a developer before, and then before going to observability, what made you like go that path of observability? Do you see that it's more meaningful in terms of engineering?
But it's different. It's different, the challenge. Of course, at the beginning of my career, I've been working for more than 10 years already, and I was switching between Argentina and France. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to work first as a developer, and then I also worked a bit as a support. So it was a mix of support developer and also what we call now SRE
Mm-hmm.
for a science team, a science-based team. It was in INRIA, that is a Institute of Research at France,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I started discovering the support of
Okay.
working to make others more productive, to enhance the creativity for others. And then I started working at Amadeus. In Amadeus, and I started. It was like a heavier workload related to the cloud, and I
Mm-hmm.
would say that that's where I started working like seriously as an SRE. And so yes, I think that when I first met when we had the opportunity to jump on the observability team at Quanto, for me it was a bit of like the mix of the two worlds. Is I had my SRE side or the support or trying to help others on one side, and on
Mm-hmm.
the other side, all the aspect of like a science or maybe some taking insight from the information is something that I really love, and I think that in observability merges these two cool words.
Two
That is
worlds, yeah.
software, but it's also some math. Sometimes you have to do some anomalies, so it's you have to check some algorithm, and so I
Yeah.
was able to. For me, it was you. To be honest, at the beginning and on the career, that sometimes you feel a bit lost when you are jumping between different
Fields, yeah.
fields. And now I feel like an old person telling this to younger people, that now I understand that actually everything adds up to your career, to your profile, to the value that you can add to the company. And for
Mhm.
instance, when I found observability, for me it was okay. Everything makes sense. All the things that I made before,
Correct.
now they make sense.
Yeah.
And so this is how I ended up working for observability.
This is actually a very good point. I mean, every person, every profile is shaped differently. I mean, and all those experience that you have in the past adapt to your I mean, your expertise in the field or what you're doing right now. And what you said is very interesting about observability when you said that observability is a bit of a mix of all the fields of engineering and science. Because, like, if you think about observability, even if you're just an analyst, but you always think about like the infrastructure behind. You think about the application layer because you are monitoring applications, and then an interesting thing that you've mentioned, which is anything that has to do with data science and machine learning, because it is something that you need to leverage so that you can have some kind of a reduce the alert fatigue and enhance the quality of the alerts that you're sending, so that you can detect actually some behavior that you are looking for, and not just any noise out there. And this is a very interesting perspective that I like the way you say. But before going into those details, if you remember our conversations, we were talking about being an engineer. I mean, for you, now that you've worked in all those fields, do you see something that an engineer should have, or an engineer is defined to do? And I want to also, I want you to talk us through like the relationship between an engineer and staff. Do you need to be engineer and managers to be staff, or is it just the engineering layer that would help you? How do you picture all of this?
Okay, so for the first question, I'm thinking about engineering, having an engineering mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's related to intentionality, maybe, to make things, to think about things, to make things rational, and to take, even if you are taking a risk, to make it rational, to go as much as possible to the data, to gather the information, to measure the risk. So it's not like moving through gut feeling, and especially, for instance, for AI, it's not following hypes and see where the ball is going, and then you just run behind. For me, having an engineering mind is to say, okay, let's wait, let's see what's the value that we add, let's make the step, like make a structure, a mental model of how we are going to tackle this. So I think that in that sense, that's how I perceive engineering, and that's how I always try to drive my career. So of course, at some moments it can be a bit slower. So it's you have to balance a bit. Being engineering doesn't mean that you cannot be lean, but at the same time, it can be perceived that you are not going so fast because you are not just playing around with things, and maybe somebody just played around with an AI thing and they made something shiny. And so in that sense, maybe it's a bit more, I don't want to say the word slow, but it's a bit more stable, or that you move, but in a more structured way.
It's more consistent. I mean, being consistent is more relevant than being
exactly. Yeah. How you can reproduce, and that's why observability for me is. Sorry, maybe I have too much of a share of observability, but I think that is central in all this. It's what brings you to the engineering world, because when you have good observability, the decisions that you are taking are based on data. So, but it's not only technical decision, because for me, observability is so central to the company, because as you mentioned, you can have alerts, you can, I don't know, use metrics to scale up or scale down your pods, and so very infra-wise. But it also, you can leverage of good observability to take decisions not on this, or if you have SLOs. So now, for instance, when you define an SLOs, everybody is aligned. It's a very simple number, and you can know if you keep pushing on your delivery or not, if you try new things or not, because depending on how much of error you have to consume. So you see, it's no longer just a person telling you let's invest in quality or not. Actually, you now have a number, you now have a
how like data-driven decisions instead of like
exactly. And for me, that's engineering. That's how I like to approach things.
So basically, for you, everything should have an equation and a number or a stat to back it up, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's something that actually, that's also engineering, is that you need to measure your ROIs. You need to keep up with the return of investment. So it's not really worth to stop a project just because you want to gather metrics. So at some point, there are some trade-offs, and then you can say, okay, with the information that we have, even if it's not covering the 100%, we are taking this risk. But it's not the same as saying, well, I do something, I don't monitor, and if it breaks, it will tell me at some point, or I will realize. So I think that the approach is a bit different there.
And how are you able to? I feel that this is like a very personal conviction of you to have this definition of being an engineer before doing the job of an engineer. Are you able to enforce this in your teams? Is this like, are you able to have this common culture in your company, for example?
Yeah. So one thing that made me apply to Quanto is the process. We are very lean focused, but we are also give a lot of time to the thinking time when you develop a process. So we have a clear, let's call it process, even if it's sometimes it might feel like a bad word, like a bureaucracy, but for us it isn't, because you do it when you need it. But most of our projects start with a value analysis, because maybe I need to back up a bit. In Quanto, it's us who decide where to work on. So we don't have somebody else coming from the outside and telling us you need to do this and this and this and this. So we take as a team in some session, we decide where we are going to focus, what's the biggest, more urgent thing that we need to tackle. And then we have value analysis. In value analysis is where we define what are the requirements that will make you win, actually. What is exactly the things that you need. So in that process, you really think about the value that you are adding. And that's a very interesting document, because then you will go back to it. Because then we go to value engineering, and now we have the word engineering here, and it's where, okay, let's propose things that will cover these objectives that we put. And you keep returning to the first document, because the first document is going to help you to scope the work and to not to drift a lot. In Quanto, there is also something else that we don't estimate. Actually, when you the variables that we handle when we tackle a project is, first, it's not quality, because we don't say, okay, to finish this project on time, we need to reduce quality. Of course, we never say that. And the second thing is that we are not flexible on the times, on the time that we are going to spend doing something. Why? Because we scope the time that we want to invest on something in the VA phase, in the value analysis. In the value analysis, we explore and we say, okay, there is value here. There is value, I don't know, upgrading this tool. But if we spend 2 months on this, the ROI is not interesting, actually. It's not interesting to work on this. So we are going to work, I don't know, 2 days on this. And we fix the scope and we fix the time. So then when you go to the value engineering phase, you will find a solution that matches that scope. So it helps you with creativity, because you need to figure out what's the best solution. But it's also helping you to be lean, to not to implement, to not to go for the absolute perfect solution, and to spread out and to implement something that can handle a lot of scenarios, but you keep focused on your. So I would say that all this process, and then we implement. We have a small phase in the middle, but it's not small, but it's a dive in where you go even deeper technically. But as you can see, all this process is helping you to structure what you are going to do. And then when you start working, it's quite fast, because you spend a lot of time thinking about the stuff. And I think that's a, and maybe we can discuss a bit later, but this is the same approach that I use when I work with the AI.
Okay, so you're saying that you have 2 phases in your project. You have the first phase that you have qualified as value analysis. There is basically the design phase, where you sit on the table and start to think of all the aspects of the feature or of the project that you're working on, and you're investing so much time on this so that you can have accurate analysis later, so that you can have something that is measurable, and you will be able to decide if the feature is even worth working on. So if, for example, in value analysis, you found out that you have so many blockers on the way and so many things, you decide to stop the project and not invest the rest of the time, right? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yeah. Actually, it's also helping you to fail fast. Just to correct you a bit, because we have two phases: is value analysis and value engineering. The
Okay.
engineering part is what you mentioned, is where you explore solution and all.
Mhm.
In the value analysis, we try very, very hard to not to think on solutions. We focus on the problem that we are trying to solve. We don't. It's very interesting because it's even counter intuitive for us, for engineers, because what you want, for instance, in my case that I mentioned, it was I mentioned to upgrade a database. Actually, that's a solution.
Okay.
In the value analysis, you really need to go and check why I wanted to update that database. So maybe in the value analysis, you are going to explore, and actually you are going to find out that the requirement that you had, it was to have a bug fix that that went with the upgrade. And maybe in the value engineering, you are going to see, okay, the upgrade is not worth it. It's too expensive because we need to migrate all the apps. But maybe to cover this bug fix, maybe we can live with this bug. But maybe what I'm going to propose is it's a warning message somewhere saying that we shouldn't do it, and it will comply with these 2 days of effort that I put to myself. So you see, it's a bit different, and actually, and you keep the lean, you keep the focus on the goal, and not on the solution.
So you're just trying to understand the problem and its repercussions, right? You're forcing yourself not to suggest any solution before you found out what the problem is in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So how are you doing this, like, in practical terms? Is it like you're doing meetings with developers? How does it go? I mean,
it depends on the project,
of
course. And in the value analysis, yes, we go. So a bit also on the Lean, we use the Lean philosophy from Toyota, Kanban. So, and we have some components, let's say. One of them is called Obeya. The Obeya is like it's called the big room where we collect the feedback, and then we do some triage on that, and we decide, okay, we are going to work on this, because these are the biggest challenges. In the value analysis is the moment where you go and ask devs if what you are building is for them, but it's not always the case. Sometimes again, we return to the data. Actually, sometimes you just have the data. You don't need to contact the devs because you are trying to fix a CI, and you can go and check the numbers already there, or you can check adoption on a tool already. And so, but it's the moment where you go and contact devs.
Okay, I understand that this is very applicable on ops and the operations. What about like functional side? Is it the same philosophy also? I mean,
yeah. It's across the company. It's very respected, and I really appreciate this because it's supported.
Okay.
You will never have somebody telling you are wasting too much time on thinking. Of course, yeah, no, I'm lying. At some point, people will tell you, okay, stop thinking. Let's start producing value, because you cannot drift for 2 weeks. But every moment that you spend thinking on the problem and then thinking on the solutions, you will save it on implementation time. It's one of our philosophies that then you will go right the first time because you thought so much on it before.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying once you have this value analysis phase, you come out with like process, and the engineering side is just like following a standard or process from A to Z, and then it will solve the problem. You won't have to think about this solution or about something in between, because you have thought about everything in the value analysis phase. So what is the deliverable of the value analysis phase? Is it like some kind of report, or Is it like some tickets on Jira? Or?
No, we rely a lot on Notion.
Okay,
so
Notion.
all our projects and all is like a page,
Mhm.
and the deliverable will be, but it's mostly for me, but it's also for colleagues that want to check what I'm doing, or etc. But it's the list of requirements. And
Okay.
second is a scope. It's the budget that I assign to myself to solve this. So I see what's the value on the requirements, but I also see how much I want to invest on this. And
Okay.
those are the deliverables. Specifically, like a materialize, it's a list, is a text in Notion. And so it's not we don't have like a Jira ticket or estimation or anything. And then on the VE phase, on the value engineering, the deliverables is going to be, of course, your solution, the
Product. Feature.
the thing that you are going to implement. Yes, and no, but not the final, because all this you didn't start to implementing anything. It's
Okay.
the plan.
Even
so
if
the deliverable.
Even in the value engineering, it's not
Yeah.
yet. Okay.
No. And of course, in a lot of cases, it happens that you need to solve risks, because that's the process. Actually, that's what I was going to mention is first the plan. And second, we have a section for the hard questions or the open questions that you don't know how you're going to tackle. And the idea is that you don't start implementing until you figure everything out. So usually what happens is that you need to do a POC, and the POC is very similar to what you are going to end up implementing. But in terms of processes, we are not talking about a deliverable.
Physically or okay, that's a very interesting. How does that work with like the agile framework? Do you have anything that would enforce you, or is in contradiction with that would create conflicts, or how does it go with that? Because I was in production. I'm still in production teams, and the problem with the agile framework is it's not production convenient in terms of what it offers, because it talks about sprints, whereas the production is more like solving the incident first and then thinking about the other side later. So how do you reconcile these two aspects of like what you described as the framework that you have at Conto, which is value analysis, value engineering, then implementation, and then the agile framework that is say you do things and then you adapt along the way?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been 4 years that I'm working on Lean and on Kanban. So I would have to remember a bit of how my previous life with Scrum. I'm even a Scrum Master certified, and I guess there are a lot of things that are very different here. So, for instance, one of the things is the estimations. So for us, I don't estimate after deciding what I'm going to do. I'm estimate before, actually. And then I adapt what I'm going to do to that estimation. I remember on Scrum, you have these poker estimations and everybody's telling, okay, I'm going to spend. But after we decided what we were going to do. So you see, there are like even, I don't know if it's the word philosophical, but it's there are like a deep differences even on that, actually, that maybe I don't feel today because maybe I'm already used to the Kanban side. I don't feel that they are helping you to be lean. And for us, even if you have a tag, so we do have not sprints, but we tend to work together because other teams are expecting you. Also, maybe if you are a dependency for others, so you need to have some we call it tag time. But it's not so enforced in like in Scrum, where you have 3 weeks and you have a planning and then you have a retro at the end. No, actually, we just deliver value as fast as possible, and you just don't wait, actually. So
okay, so it's the difference is in your model. It's you have the project and its estimation, and then everything is extracted from the first estimation, which is the time that you have allocated for that. Whereas, for example, if you go with the very agile mode, it's the loads of tasks that would dictate the length of the project. It's the way is the opposite way.
Yeah.
Correct?
So you see, you estimate
Mm.
on Kanban based on the problem that you want to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Scrum, I feel like, or at least we were doing, maybe we were doing it wrong, but we were estimating based on what we were going to do.
Exactly. That's correct.
On the solution. And actually, I feel way more comfortable now with the Kanban because the delivery, actually, you are doing everything because you want to show that you solve a problem, not that you produce an API or that you upgraded your database. That's not the goal. And that's why I feel more comfortable because it keeps my focus on the problem.
Are you saying this as a staff engineer or manager? If you were in the shoes of a developer, would you say the same thing? Because
I before this I was an individual contributor, and maybe we can, because I never answered your second question, but and I really appreciate having this time because what my managers were asking me, it was to understand the problem, to show them that I was really understanding the problem, and then that I was able to produce something that was going to solve the problem and nothing else. Because one thing that managers are scared of is also people branching out or doing technology just for doing technology. And I think that we have a tendency to do that. So then, of course, it depends on maybe on the profile of the person. If you are really interested just on the technology and you want to work on a particular technology and go deep and spend everything that you can on all the time that you can on that technology, or if you're here because you want to solve problems, because you want to face challenges and you want to be smart and find different ways to figure problems out. And for me, that was the thing that was gratifying, rather than I did an API, even when I was an individual contributor, of course.
Yeah. So you're saying that you are objective oriented, and what makes you more challenged is solving a particular problem and not just doing a technology for the sake of doing it, because it's shiny and it's out there. And I think this also relates to what's happening now with AI and people jumping on every release of a new feature. How do you see this? How do you see this as, I mean, individually as an individual contributor, and how do you see this in your organization as your role of a leader and the staff engineer?
With AI, I find
I know it's a deep question, so take your time.
No, but the thing about AI is that everybody's dealing with it differently. Everybody's finding their ways. I love that, actually, but I see that individual contributors, other staff, even leads, even people that are from designers are doing things like that before they were only on the backend side. So everybody's using the AI very, very differently. On my case, what I feel very, very comfortable with is we do a lot of one-shot thing, and even as an observability, we try to solve incidents and cuckoo. I mean, and we try to to solve things one-shot way. Like for instance, finding the root cause of incidents. Those are like the big challenges that we are all behind. But I feel more comfortable also working when I need to develop something or when I need to produce something. With this, I think that it's called like a research plan implement approach. And there are things like, for instance, CodeLayer. There are tools. Actually, you can do it with just simple agents on Claude, everything. But for me, I was comfortable with CodeLayer. It has a nice UI. It comes with the agents. So it comes already prepared. And for me, it mirrors everything that we discussed before. The way I work now and the way that I approach this, and I'm trying maybe as a staff to influence people to do this because I think that there is a real value on this, is that you spend a lot of time before implementing. And for instance, my work, I feel like I connected everything to Obsidian, so I have a nice view of markdowns. And lately, my work has been 70% on checking markdowns, on checking decisions, on understanding how we are going to tackle something. Because if I ask a tool to make me an API and everything on Golang, and then I will have a project with 20 files created with 2,000 lines of code, for me, mentally, it's very hard to understand what we are doing. And I feel like I feel a bit lost there. It's hard for me to even to connect with the code. So I don't feel that it's mine even. Like so, okay, if you computer tell me that this is working, I trust you because I cannot even review this. Huh? Whereas if you go in this value engineering, so this you do it, you can use AI also to bring more sources of information to help you structure your thinking. For me, it's very, very nice to chat with the AI and to ask it to help you structure your thinking. And then you do this VA in Claude. Actually, I ping pong and wait, I think that we are missing this, and then you understand. I don't understand the architecture. Please give me an architectural diagram so I can understand it very well. And then you do all your VE phase, let's say, or you do all the thinking, and then the implementation is, you can trust on the implementation phase. You do a review, of course, because you want to check that the implementation matches what you think. But the review is completely different, actually. You're reviewing exactly what I mentioned. It's like you're reviewing that it matches your document. Okay. Instead of checking that the code is doing what, solving all the issues and having one big block of things to review. And one thing that I found that is interesting is that all the discussions, all the technical discussions that I had with the AI, I asked it to summarize it and put it in the same repo as ADR, like architectural decision records. Mm-hmm. So they are logged. So I feel like I use the AI to write its own memory, but it helps also humans because I also ask, make it more, when are parts that are complex, I ask it, no, there is a human that is going to read this, please explain a bit more, etc. So I feel very, very comfortable working with this because I'm helping humans to understand what I'm doing. And of course, the next agent can check why we were doing stuff and all. So I think that it mirrors very well the thinking process, but also I feel like we put a lot of brain inside, and it makes me my life easier to then to review.
Yeah. So from what I understood and from my research, there are two ways to use AI. I mean, as an enterprise or as a human, there is the way that you consider the AI as an individual. I'm going to use your terms, contributor. That is standalone entity that you think that is capable of doing things, or you can use it. This is the second way, as something that would augment you, or that would make you or add superpowers to you. And I think everything that you have described now is the second. The second philosophy, which is having the decision and the core functionalities and making AI augment you by controlling the flow and controlling what it's saying. And I mean, what you have said, the second section of your talk is very interesting. I've been talking with a friend recently who has interviewed for a position, and in the interview, they told him that in our company, basically, we rely on AI to do the coding, and we are considering every software engineer as a product manager instead of a software engineer, because we are expecting you to write all the markdowns that you have mentioned there, and then the small tasks of defining a function, you let the AI do it, you do not spend the time. You spend more time on defining the whole markdowns, the architecture, the how everything is designed, how everything is tested, and then you if you do it that way, you were behind the architecture, so you are able to go on each feature and test it, and if it goes wrong, you are able to spot the error and say, here is the error, correct that, and not just say, oh, it's not working, I had an error, and then you copy paste the whole error and he send it to Claude and say, hey, this is the error, go figure it out. That's not the right way of doing it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I think that it returns a bit of what we discussed about of being an engineer, like adding engineering practices onto this. Before discovering this, I felt like I was using AI a bit like a slot machine. Like, okay, all these 100 files are working, and when I have a bug, I will just ask Claude to fix it. It will produce 54 more files. I was okay, let's trust it. And
you're basically just betting on the answer, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like as a staff, I'm trying to push a bit on this usage, but not trying to force the tools, but maybe forcing this like you find your way, but keep your brain. Try to be very, very perceptive and check the risk and ask yourself if the AI is making you smarter or dumber, because we tend also the AI being so shiny and giving you answers so fast, it happens that sometimes we are trying to use it to make us dumber, to try to figure out the investigations on one shot. So you stop thinking and you stop checking, and then when you have an incident, you just trust what the AI told you because you lost your capacity, your tools to investigate and everything to investigate. So for me, those are the moments where I don't feel like comfortable and I need to add something else on the side, or I need to involve the human on the loop.
Great. And how does that go for you? I mean, as a company, do you have any like restrictions of models you can use? Are you using cloud models? Are you using or on premise? Do you have any restrictions on that or that kind of problems?
No, we have different tools to do, because I think that we are on a discovery phase. We are producing, of course, and we are asked to produce and everything. But since everything is new, we are fortunate to have a lot of different tools available for us. So we have a quick setup for Ollama if you want to try things out. We have SaaS companies providing you for agents and cool things that you can click and you have your access. Then we have Claude on our laptops and with a good plan. And we are asked to explore, to experiment, because the more you experiment with something, I feel like the more productive you are going to be. So I think that we are in a moment where we are exploring and we are able, and the higher ups are open to give us money to spend more money or resources on this. So we explore and we find the ways to get more product.
Did that change the profiles you are recruiting or the type of people you are looking to recruit? And you can also say a few words about your recruitment campaign. I think you are recruiting for new positions, right?
Yeah, you can check on the link, the open position. We are heavily recruiting now. Thank you. And I would say that no, because of the Quanto way of doing things. I think that it was we were recruiting brains before, people that are able to think of a problem, that has a structured mind, that can have a mental strategy to tackle challenges, and maybe not so much on Golang, let's say, on the hard skills. Depends, of course, on the position. Sometimes you need the people that are very strong on a particular technology that you want a champion on that technology. But I would say that we keep the same spirit of being smart, of being challenging the status quo. Also, for instance, for AI, I think that we prefer to have people that are not like a, I don't know how the word in English, like a push and selling shiny stuff and saying, no, now we can do this and this. But we still want people that focuses on the problems, that focuses on the customer, and then solve the issue with the AI. So I don't think it radically changes the type of people that we recruit.
You're not looking for influencers. You're looking for problem solvers, right?
Yeah, of course.
Perfect.
And I think that the problem with AI is that it added a lot of value, and at the same time, it added a lot of noise. So it's
you gotta find your way between the noise and the value.
Yeah.
And if I asked you to give us an advice for the people, I mean, or even you as let's I've seen that you don't want to give any advice, so let me rephrase it. In other words, given your experience as a lead of a team of observability and things, and I've seen that you have implemented so many things with AI up until now. Did you see any pitfalls that you have hit along the way that you would advise people not to go in the same direction so that they can avoid problems? Do you have any return of experience that you would like to us or the people watching to take from this session?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of part of what we already discussed, and I think that we didn't win this issue, let's say, or we are not able to tick that thing of let's keep the brains here inside. So I understand that there is a big pressure of showing that you are working with AI, but try to focus on the problems, and instead of showing that you are working with AI, try to show that you are solving issues. And I think that may be my advice, because I feel like it's one of the things that I needed to change, or I need to improve. It's the way that we communicate, the way that that we show that we are actually focusing, we are adding value, and we are not just making shiny things. And so yes, and keep using the AI, but keep asking yourself how you can make it smarter. For instance, for me, asking the AI to structure your thoughts, to try to figure out how to communicate better, to try to, for me, it's way better when I work with AI in a chat, like a ping pong, than just one shot of asking, do me all this, write me a document, write me a position that I need to open on my team to recruit a candidate, write me a skill test. No, I need to figure out what I'm looking for. So maybe I will ask the AI, I have this, please help me finding a mental model so I can tackle this problem. And so it's like I think that I feel like it's a bit redundant for the conversation, but ask the AI to be better in a better engineer.
Okay, so what problem did AI solve in your observability stack, like the implementation that you did with ClickHouse? What problem were you facing, and what problem did you solve?
Good question. So now we go to the hard part. So maybe to give a bit of context, we decided to move to ClickHouse because we were facing some limitations with the previous tools that we had, especially on traces. And because we wanted to put traces and events as a first citizen on our stack, we decided to migrate to a powerful engine, actually, and we stopped thinking on pillars. We started thinking on a big data lake where we can hammer and we can ask all the questions. By doing so, since ClickHouse is like a generic tool, it's not a tool that it was conceived for observability. Of course, there is a lot of, you have Signals, you have now ClickStack, you have a lot of things that are using ClickHouse. We lost a bit on the UX side. For instance, we were using Grafana, and the Grafana plugins for querying ClickHouse are very, I would say, powerful, because you can write the SQL query, and so you can do everything that you want. But it's not click, click, click. And when you think on observability, the UX is really important. It's not like a nice to have. It's something that is, if you have an incident and it's 3 a.m. and you didn't work on a project, you need answers, and you need answers fast, and you shouldn't be needing to remember SQL and all. So the AI helped us to solve that UX problem by using agents to write queries for us. So you ask the AI what's happening with this service, and the agent is going to go. We have an MCP that is on top of the ClickHouse database, and you can go to the previous talk. Maybe I can repeat a bit, but we invested a lot of having clean information on the database. So we use OpenTelemetry. We have ways to enforce it, to be as aligned as possible to OpenTelemetry. So it's very easy for the AI to understand what's the data that we have in the database. So it helped us to first to make engineers have an answer faster, and then to democratize that information, because for us, observability stopped. Even if we are storing telemetry spans, for me, actually, now that's data that you can consume in very different ways. So the AI helped us to democratize, and you can have people asking the ClickHouse if people are using the tools that they are doing, for instance. So it's like maybe a product-based question rather than just give me the latency of metric of a request, sorry. And so AI helped us to democratize this.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a real problem that you're solving there. That's a great one.
Yeah. And then of course we have like a side quest on incidents. For instance, doing investigation for you, or maybe doing the summaries of like companions for the incident management part, like to have better economics, because you have a thing that is helping you. And because I think that one of the challenges that AI is very good is understanding natural language. And in incidents in Slack, there is a lot of that in meetings when we are in the war room for an incident, let's say. So we have an AI that is collecting insights of what happened on the Slack, and then it's going to this traces database, and we are trying to figure out what's going on with that information.
That's great, and I think you are also leveraging this to have like some postmortem and all the documentation after the incident to report this. As you said yourself, you're creating summary of all your interaction. I think it's also beneficial to write a summary of all what happened during the incident, so you can leverage that later on in your experience. Yeah, that's great.
You see, for instance, that's a process that we did from before. Like after an incident, we recompile all the information that we can, and we do something that is called a plan, do, check, act, so it doesn't happen again. So it's usually it's a meeting where you explore, we go to the root cause. So maybe you can use AI also there to help you figure out what went wrong, and to be more creative, to enhance your creativity. But we are also using AI to do this summarize of information, to bring to make the timeline, to compute the impact that we had on an incident on customers. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. You've mentioned that you were able to enforce OpenTelemetry across the organization. How were you able to do that?
It's I think I feel it's like a big war to enforce.
Okay.
But we support it, and we help. I mean, we are not sampling services yet that don't align with OpenTelemetry. Maybe we should, I don't know. But we have libraries to help devs. Actually, it's rather simple for devs to align, and we have ways to check the attributes and what are aligned or not with the.
And you're doing this on all your technologies, the applications, the clusters, everything is OpenTelemetry compliant for you, right?
Yeah. We invest a lot, and we try to be as much as possible aligned to. And I think that it's also easy to prove the value on that. For me, it's easy to sell to devs that they shouldn't put any field name that as they want. So, for instance, previously, before all this OpenTelemetry move, we had a field that we were using on our logs to track a transaction going everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it was rather easy to show the value that to have something that is structured. So every service, they don't have to guess what's the right field that they should use. Actually, you just focus on your service, and it's a contract that you have with the rest of the infra.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is rather important, rather powerful also.
Is it all manual instrumentation, or there were like some kind of auto instrumentation? Yeah.
We try to use manual instrumentation. We are not using eBPF or anything, but at the same time, you prepare libraries, you abstract, you go a bit higher and on abstraction. So there is a lot of things that are automatic for them, but it's not like eBPF stuff collecting things behind.
There's no injection. It's pure manual coding of the traces.
Yeah, but I think that we have a very good how to say coverage.
Okay.
All services and sending, and I don't feel like we need to auto instrument something. And you need to be careful with the noise that you are going to add also when you open the gates to some auto instrumenting thing. I think that we might want to explore a bit more. I follow with a lot of eBPF based solutions now that can collect a lot of very interesting stuff. But
yeah, that's very interesting. Do you want to talk about like the size of your infrastructure, or is it something that is public or not?
No, yes, I think that for instance, I don't want to give wrong numbers, so that's why I don't want to say very big numbers. But for instance, for maybe the numbers that I know of is in telemetry, for instance, on spans, we were collecting something like 300 terabytes of information on traces, only on spans. So it's 300 terabytes for 2 months of retention.
Okay.
And ClickHouse is so that's why I know that number, because I was amazed of that 300 went to 3 terabytes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a compression of one. We keep only 1% of the size. It's very, very good at compressing stuff, ClickHouse.
Okay.
And that's why we are not scared on cardinality or on adding more spans. So now we are collecting spans from the front end, from mobile, from all the customers, so we can do very smart stuff on like connecting SLOs end to end for user journeys, or understanding where the users are dropping on a pipeline. And so
so you're saying you're collecting 300 terabytes and you are storing it on 3 terabytes of storage. It's only costing you 3 terabytes. That's a good positive for ClickHouse there.
Yeah, I do. I'm not sponsored by ClickHouse. I don't have my t-shirt.
They deserve it. They definitely deserve it.
But to be honest, the product is amazing, and it's open source. So I'm quite in love with the technical solution that they implemented. And even when you are on the cloud, so you don't pay the maintenance cost. So again, when we moved to this, we do the VA, and when we went to the VE, we saw that actually maintenance cost was not aligning with the effort that we wanted to spend. And you pay for S3 actually. You don't pay for, it's not like other providers where you pay for transfer or you pay massive. Actually, you pay for S3 and you pay for your compute. So EC2. So we have
so there's
machine.
no data transfer fees there, like you.
And then they offer private links.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we are talking about the cloud, everything happens inside. We use Amazon Cloud, so AWS. So everything happens on. So we don't sample, for instance, and for me that's a big bet, and it's not very common on the industry. But we don't sample. I don't feel the need to do it.
There's no need to sample if you have enough storage.
Yeah.
I mean, sampling 1% is basically is the same thing, right?
Yeah, no, but what is amazing is that before we were when we were in the metrics world, because before Trace is rather new, I would say, in the industry. Like it existed, but it was not heavily adopted. And before we relied more on metrics and logs. And in metrics, you always deal with the cardinality, like asking people, please do not add this value on the thing. Or when you have these histograms, just keep 4 values, please. Don't go over because you are going to have 100 different endpoints. You are going to kill the. So I feel like all those messages got written in people's mind. And now in Traces, they ask me, can I add this attribute? Can I put for me? Of course you can. Please do. Actually, not even that attribute. Add these others, because even if you are repeating the information, when we are going to compress, since it's a columnar database, it's the same as not having it. So please add it, and then we can do very, very smart things.
Oh, that's cool. And one last question for you before we hit the time here. You say that telemetry has a lot of noise. How do you filter what you're sending to the model? Are you doing any token economics, or is there like a planning of how many tokens you consume, and how do you know what traces you would send to the model for inferencing?
Good question. So we are not actually. We have I would say, very primitive metrics or very primitive telemetry from our agents, and that's something I'm not very, very comfortable. And we are actively doing stuff on that. For instance, adding MCP gateways, so we can plug something in the middle before going to all the possible MCPs that we can connect. And so we have better numbers to take these decisions. So in the infra that we are using currently to run our agents and all, we have some numbers.
Okay.
And the way that we are reducing the number of tokens is we offload all the smart thing on ClickHouse. Okay. All the smart processes, because ClickHouse, it's not only very, very fast and all, it has a very huge catalog of analytics functions to do analytics that come from before, from the analytics world, from the big data world. And so we don't ask ClickHouse to give us 100,000 rows and then we do the smart processing actually. So I think that that's the way that we reduce a lot of token, is asking the agent to be smart and to go to the database with a function, with an SQL query, that will give it the answers that it needs to continue the information. And that's why.
So basically, you're doing it by layers. The layer one is high-level metrics, details, and details of details, and so on. So you remind me of like in vector search, we have the NNN model. You have it in layers. The first layer has only a couple of points, so you gotta know what is the nearest point there, and then you jump, and then you get wider or more detailed points, and then so on. And it's as you said, ClickHouse has this capacity of having those stored, pre-computed stored metrics that allow you to basically have the answer in a couple of minutes. Great. Yep.
Yeah, for instance, we had we call it Explore Traces bot. It's an agent that is quite smart, and it's the one that goes to ClickHouse and gets you the answer that you want. For instance, what's happening with the service, who is calling the service, etc. But then when we try to go to this second layer and to have an incident investigator that connects more sources of information and all, we had to create another agent that uses I call it a Explore Traces DAM. Actually, it's called like this, to make it dumber and cheaper to run. Because actually the thinking, it was made by the incident, the one that was calling it, and we just needed a layer that was able to go to ClickHouse and be smart on ClickHouse, but not so smart on understanding a problem.
Perfect. It was a great hour.
Yeah, I want to keep talking.
We've been talking about many things. Maybe we should do another episode for the next.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we can talk more about observability and all the cool stuff around that. But
yeah, we are going to schedule another session for sure. How was your experience so far? I know this is your first webinar live,
yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah, but I really loved it. For the audience, we had a quick chat some days ago, and I felt your vibes, and I said, okay, if I'm going to have a first time, Aziz is the right person to do it. I really enjoyed. I feel comfortable, and I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it as well, and it was fun talking with you and discovering all the philosophical discussions, the redefinitions of role of engineer, and also all the numbers and statistics we gave about observability. It was great. Thank you everyone for watching, if you're watching or if you're re-watching later on. And thank you. And thank you, Amin, for always being our watcher number one.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.